Hello students, I am Professor Kumbar AS, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Plant Pathology. Today we are going to discuss another theoretical topic known as implementation and impact of IDM modules. As we know that IDM modules is nothing but the set of management practices which is used for the management of different diseases. So, to make IDM modules, we need to make a plan, and according to that plan, we perform the activities. So, when we prepare the plan, so this is called as an implementation, or when we prepare the plan and when we perform the activities according to that plan, so it is called as an implementation and impact. So again, let us see what actual means of implementation and impact. So implementation is nothing but the process of putting a decision or plan into effect or execution. That means whatever the plan or schedule is prepared for performing different activities regarding the pest management. So actually we can use or we can perform that activities. So this is called as an implementation, that is carrying out the plan according to the schedule. Next, impact. As we know that impact means the conclusion of that implementation or measurement of the applied decision or plan. That is, what is the result is obtained after performing different activities related to IPM or related to management of disease according to the plan. So the result of that implementation is obtained, and that is called as an impact of IP or IDM module. Next, as we know that the IPM or IDM module, that means what? It is a set of standardized practices or independent measures that can be used to manage crop diseases or diseases in most economical and effective way. So already before that we discussed about that IPM or the definition of IPM, that is we have to use a different set of management strategies. That means we have to use a chemical method, physical method, mechanical method, biological method, cultural method. That means according to the nature of pest, we can use the best suitable combination of that management strategies to control a disease with least cost and without any environmental hazards. So this is about the IPM or IDM module, or I say it is called as an IPM. Next, we discuss about the goals and approach of implementation of IPM. Why we do the implementation of IPM, or what is the approach of implementation of IPM? So in that IPM involves a series of evaluation, decisions and controls. That means that approach requires continuous observation of the presence or absence of pest. Then decisions, that means at what condition of pest population we applied a control measure. We need to apply the pest control measure at a particular level of pest population. And last one is their controls. Control, that means what? After the identification of pest, after the deciding of application of particular chemical for control of that pest, we have to use a suitable combination. It may be a chemical or mechanical, or either it may be only chemical, to manage a disease. So that the manager need to that manager need to monitor the potential for pest infestation and follow a 4-step approach. So what are the 4-step approach? First is to act to prevent problem. That means to minimize the pest population, we need the 4 things. In that, first, to act to prevent the problem. So as we know that prevention is better than cure. That means before the incidence of that disease, we need to prevent them. To avoid the incidence of disease, the farmers or the managers should keep the area disease free, or keep the area which is free from pest or free from disease, or healthy area. We have to keep that. In that also involves to prevent the pest population. You should need the using of proper planting material. That means whatever the planting material, it may be a seeds, tubers, bulbs, whatever the planting material is used, you should use that planting material which is completely free from microorganism. Most of the time we have to use a planting or diseased planting material, and that is a source of spread of that disease. So better way, we have to use a good planting material to avoid the spread of such a kind of diseases. In that, we also use a resistant variety or the disease tolerant variety to avoid the incidence of that pest. If you do that, so most of the problems regarding pest population is decreases. So better way, we have to use a disease resistant variety or disease tolerant variety. Next one is set action threshold. That means what? As we know that threshold, that means what? The pest population at which the action is essential, or the pest population of that particular plant is reaches at which the control measure is essential, or at that time definitely you have to take a suitable management practices. Otherwise your pest population reaches to economic injury level. So we need that at what or at what pest population, or at which point we need the control measure. For example, if the pest population is reaches up to economic threshold level, at that point chemical control is essential. So manager or the farmer should need to at what pest population we applied a chemicals. So before taking the action of that, we have to decide that the intensity of that pest population, at that we have to apply a chemical control. Third one is monitor and identify pest. That means before taking the action of pesticide, the manager should monitor. That means the continuous observation of the presence or absence of the pest. That is the monitor. That means the continuous watch is on the presence or absence of pest, and due to that continuous observation, the manager should able to identify the particular pest on the basis of certain observations. Then if you identify the pest, they reduces the unnecessary use of pesticides, along with it reduces the wastage of time, money, etc. So it is very essential to identify the particular pest by continuous watch or observation in field. And after the identification of exact pest, the last point is that is to take control. That means we have to use a suitable combination of management strategies. For example, if you identify a particular pest, for example aphids, so for control of that aphids we have to use, first we think about that, is there any cultural method or mechanical method to manage a disease or for control the aphids? And if it is not possible with the help of cultural and mechanical practice, then and then we go to the chemical products or chemical spraying. So that if you do such an approach, so it reduces the environmental risk. So at the initial stage of control measure, we have to use, as we already told about that, we have to use cultural or mechanical practices. In that we use pheromone traps, we have to use different biological agents or predators which depends on another harmful organisms, or we can use some biological control agents. And if with the help of such a biological agent, cultural methods or mechanical methods, if proper control is not occurred at that time, after that we have to use the suitable chemicals for control of that particular pest. So in that way we follow the 4 steps to achieve the goal and approach of IPM. So first step is to act the prevent problem, that is we have to take the prevention before the incidence of that pest. Second, set action threshold, that means at what pest population the chemical spray is essential or not, we have to decide at that point. Then third, monitor and identify pest, that means due to continuous observation we have to identify the pest on the basis of some morphological characters. And last one, after take control, that is after identification of pest we have to take a suitable control measure for control of that disease. Then we discuss about the different benefits and hazards or advantage and disadvantage or impact of pesticides. So first we discuss about the benefits. So first benefit is that, very simple advantages is there. So first benefit is that pesticides helps farmers to produce more with less land. That means once with the introduction of pesticides, farmers have been able to produce bigger crops or more crops on less land. Due to that our productivity will increases up to 20 to 50%. So as we know that when pesticide is introduced in between 1948 to 1952, in between that or at that period, mostly in between 1948 to 1953, our food grain production is about near about 50 million tons. But after the introduction of that pesticides or after the utilization of that pesticide, our food grain production was increases near about 190 million tons in 1996 to 1997. So that means what? After the introduction of pesticide, to meet the demand of people, most of the pesticides are used, and due to that our food grain production is tremendously increased. Next one, pesticide ensures a bountiful harvest. That means if you use a suitable combination of pesticides, or if you use biological pesticides, so there is no effect on the produce, and due to that we have to reduce the impact of residue of pesticides on human health. For example, as we know that it reduces the risk of many cancers, then high blood pressure, heart diseases problem, then diabetes, stroke and other chronic diseases. That means a different kind of the diseases is prevented with the introduction of natural, or mostly the introduction of pesticides which having a biological origin. Next one is pesticide helps to keep a food affordable. That means in that farmers grow more food on the same land with the help of pesticides. So that means that studies have showed that growers of organic vegetables spend significantly more on hand weeding compared to growers who use herbicides. That means when we, for example, suppose there is an farm, on that farm if you grow any organic produce, it means to, if you for example if you grow a cabbage, so for weeding in that cabbage we need more expenses or more money if you do the hand weeding with the help of different laborers. So due to that heavy labor charges, our cost of production is increases. Instead of that, because for that weeding near about for completion of that life cycle of that crop, near about 2 to 3 weeding is required, and for that 2 to 3 weeding most cost is required, for that most or more money is required. So instead of that if we use pesticides, so within a short period of time our weed is controlled, or with the help of that herbicide we have to control a weed within a short span of period. So that indicates the use of that pesticides. Next, pesticide helps to reduce waterborne and insect transmitted disease. As we know that most of the viral diseases, in that point most of the viral diseases is transferred by the insect vector. So vector, as you know that vector is nothing but those insect which transmit virus from infected plant to healthy plant, that is called as an vector. So such an insect vector transmit most of the viral diseases, near about 80 to 85% viral diseases is transmitted by the different kinds of insect. So if you use pesticides, or if you use a proper combination of that pesticides, so easily we can control the insect or waterborne diseases, and in that way we prevent the spread of viral diseases. Next one is there, pesticide helps to conserve the environment. So when it is possible, so when we use a different biological agents, or if we use a different natural enemies instead of pesticide, for example for control of aphids we use a chemical, for example we have to use chlorpyrifos, but instead of chlorpyrifos, if the pest population of aphids is less, so for control of that aphids the natural enemy is used. For example we have to use we use the adult stage of weevils or beetles, so that helps the to maintain the population of, or that helps to maintain the population of such a insect. If we use natural enemies, and due to that natural enemy, using of that natural enemy, they do not cause any harm to the non targeted pathogens which is present in soil. Next one herbicide have removed the hardship of hand weeding. As we already told about that, instead of hand weeding, we have to use a different herbicides based on the nature of weed. If you do that, so whatever the cost is required for the hand weeding, it is reduced. And due to that, we have to reserve, or we have to save our money. Next, pesticide have transformed developing countries into a food producer. Next one, pesticide have transformed developing countries into food products. That means if the farmer grow 3 to 4 crops in a year with crop protection practices, or most of the biological agents, by utilization of most of biological agent, or most of natural, or most of using the natural enemies, then and then within 2 to 3, or within 1 years, 2 to 3 produce will be there, and that produce helps the farmer in case of export of that agricultural commodities into other countries. And due to that, there is an economic gain to the farmers due to continuous growing of that different short growing crops with proper crop protection appliances. With the help of proper crop protection appliances, we grow the crops, and due to that, it helps the farmers to build up a confidence, as well as the standard of such a farmers is increases. Mostly in temperate countries, the farmers from that temperate countries gain a more profit due to proper utilization of plant protection appliances within a short period of time. Next, securing what's in storage. That means, as we know that after the harvesting of products, that product will be stored in storehouse, and during that storing period, or during that storage period, most of the molds or fungal or bacterial infection is there. Sometimes different bugs and rodents can harm the agricultural produce. So to control the store grain pest, most of the pesticides are available in the market. If we use a proper pesticide for control of that stored grain pest, so ultimately our agricultural produce is protected from the post harvest losses. That means near about, as we know that near about 10 to 15, or near about 10 to 15% loss is caused due to post harvest damage, due to attack of such a kind of fungus or bacteria. So with the help of such a pesticide, we have to prevent such a loss. So in that way we have to use pesticides, or there is a benefit of that pesticides. Again we see that pesticide helps the farmers to produce more with less land. Next one, pesticide ensure plentiful harvest, that is less residue if you use a biological or natural enemies, so less residue on that agricultural product, and due to that it reduces the different diseases regarding human. Then pesticide key helps to keep food affordable. Next, pesticide helps reduce waterborne and insect transmitted disease that we discussed earlier. Then pesticide helps conserve the environment. Then next, herbicide have removed the hardship of hand weeding. And second last, pesticide have transformed the developing countries into food producers. And last one, it secures what in storage with the help of different suitable pesticides. So this is about benefits of our farmers. In next part, we discuss about the remaining part of that IPM or impact and implementation of that IPM. Thank you.